Hello, welcome to Season 11 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. This season, in each episode, we will not both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about it later. We have 10 previous seasons of doing exactly that, and it's time for something new. This season, each episode will focus on a larger horror topic, trend, or maybe even rumor. We'll speculate about upcoming movies, debate genre definitions, and do our best to apply the perspective of two people who have watched way too many horror movies to different types of horror media. Thanks for coming along for the ride. So as we continue our journey through Season 11, where instead of watching a movie every week and talking about it, we are branching out into other forms of horror media. We're talking about upcoming movies we're excited about. We're talking about horror subgenres. We're all over the place. And I'm really excited for this week because for the first time ever, we are going to review a horror-inspired album.
So stoked. When you brought this idea, I thought, he's not that dumb.
Only took 11 seasons.
No. It's so funny because it's the exact opposite. I'm the dumb one of the podcast.
Hey, don't talk about my friend that way.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I'm excited for this, and this is going to be a little different. So I was thinking I could do like a quick introduction for the band. We could talk about sort of the music and the style and how we feel about that, just real high level, and then talk about like best and worst moments on the album.
Okay.
And then I really want to talk about the music videos because I feel like that is the perfect intersection of what this is, which is horror-inspired music, and what we are, which is horror movie fans.
I like it. I think it's brilliant. I think you also could have denied that I'm the dumb one.
Well, obviously you're not.
Thank you. Okay.
I didn't want to fight you, though, on the air in front of people.
That's okay. We gotta air it out. That's why they're here. They're here for the drama.
Yeah.
The most least dramatic podcast out there.
I know, yeah.
Our disagreements in like this. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, we do, because we even agree on the things we don't like, generally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Kansas or South Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both love Australia. I mean, there's not really anything to argue about when we're both right all the time.
Damn right. You damn right.
So the name of the band is Ice Nine Kills. The name of the album is The Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood. Ice Nine Kills was formed in 2000. They have 6 studio albums. Their last 2 albums have enjoyed time in the top 5 of Billboard's U.S. top hard rock albums and U.S. top rock albums. More importantly, their name comes from my favorite Kurt Vonnegut novel, which is Cat's Cradle, and they are kind of a big deal. And on this album, they did collaborations with a bunch of other artists. But the inspiration for the album is a series of horror movies. And the inspiration for the videos for each song is also inspired by the horror movie that the song was based on. So that's what we're going to get into today. Had you heard of Ice Nine Kills before this?
No, I haven't.
So I know they've been around for a while. I've seen the name on like tour posters and stuff, but they never have been in the realm of like something I'm interested in musically. They're a little bit like heavier, a little more on like the metal side, at least that I've heard of them. But one thing that caught my attention about this album was hearing that it was based off of horror movies. And then they also did a collaboration with Buddy Nielsen from Senses Fail, who is like one of my favorite bands. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of got my attention. And then I started reading about the album, and then I was like, oh, this seems kind of perfect for what we do. So I don't have like a long history with them or anything. This is more of a recent discovery.
Yeah, it's like a perfect storm too, because the album just came out at the end of 2001 or 2021.
Yeah.
It's like perfect.
Yeah. So they're definitely still like in album cycle. If you're wanting to catch them on tour, I would assume that would be relatively easy to do in the nearish future, provided we don't get another variant that shuts everything down. But
I will say, just starting off, like when I looked at the album, the Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood, the album art definitely looks like a Midwest rapper's album art.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like it'd be like
yeah.
Tech Nine, which I like Tech Nine. I'm just saying it just looks like maybe like Memphis rap art, like some old 3-6 Mafia stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so I was like,
funny.
this is probably gonna slap, and I was pretty stoked. And then there was no like Tech Nine or 3-6 Mafia on it. But no, I actually hadn't. Yeah, the first time I heard was when you told me about them, and yeah, I was definitely glad you did, because I was really stoked when you came up with the idea of doing this, because one of the things I've been trying to persuade to do is music podcasts. That's like our first love, you know.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's like, you know, I now understand why we're hesitant on it, because like this is a whole different, like this isn't just watch a movie a time or two and then talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like there was a lot of, I felt like a lot of work going into it, which I'm cool with.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm also not signing up for that every week.
Yeah, that's too much.
I don't get paid enough. Taking a step back from like the genre of the music, I think first off, the first thing that jumped out to me was that this album sounds amazing. Like the recording, the sound engineering, production, overall quality are just like top notch. And I think that this is a band that is definitely like on the upswing. And they probably had a lot more budget for this album than on previous ones.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of cool to see that, like, how well something can be made in this genre for something this, like, artistic. You know what I mean? Like, cause I don't feel like this is, for the most part, super typical, like, pop, like stuff that has a lot of, like, radio commercial appeal. Like, I feel like the allegiance or the mindset when making this album was producing the concept of horror-inspired heavy rock. And I feel like they sold out to do that, and yet they still had, it's not some like side project, it's not some do-it-yourself thing. Like it really has that like high-level kind of epic cinematic production level to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, you know, it's produced by Drew Folk, who goes by Wizardblood, which he spells it WZRD space BLD, and I've seen that name a few times. But he's produced music for like, you know, Lil Wayne. I mean, that's all you really need to know. But
Tech Nine,
Lil Wayne, Tech Nine, Lil Wayne, Lil Peep, My Bloody or Bullet for My Valentine, Moon Taxi, like just a day to remember. So he's been in the game.
Big names, big budget stuff.
He's only 34.
I'm wasting my life. I hate it when I find out about somebody younger than me doing cool stuff.
Hey, you're successful.
That was very kind in
I could barely keep
a very pandering way. Yeah,
I just couldn't.
But before we get into the content, I was just kind of curious on your initial takes on the music itself. I know that this is definitely not really in your bag as far as style goes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. And I'm not the biggest into, you know, loud screaming music for the most part. And I think it's like a sensory thing for me. Like as I'm getting older, I notice a sensory, if there's a lot going on, my brain can't process it, you know? Yeah. So if I'm trying, when I listen to music, I like to, after I like listen to it, I like to try to pick out individual pieces of it. Yeah. And that comes from us. So you know, when you play drums and I play bass, like we played off of each other. So I listen to your drumming more than I feel like I listen to myself play. Because I could like, okay, here's this fill. I know what fill is coming. I can do this kind of, you know, that kind of thing. So I like to listen to individual pieces. And when it's really hard and loud and screaming, it's like I can't make out the stuff. I can't even make out the lyrics. So I'm trying to read the lyrics while listening. And it's just a little, you know, much. Now, that being said, this definitely had quite a few songs I actually really enjoyed, added to my 2022 playlist. You know, I keep a year playlist of all the music I listened to through that year. So it wasn't bad. It definitely, the thing that kept me going through it all was because I was trying to catch like the quotes and the, like what the songs, I was reading what the song was like about. So like if it was, Psycho or, whatever the case is. I was knew what we were kind of getting into, try to hear if I could catch it beforehand, and then read the lyrics so I could actually hear the references and stuff.
Yeah.
For a lot of them. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It's not, I won't see them play it live.
Yeah.
If I'm working in the garage or if I feel like just hauling ass on the bike, I would definitely play a couple of their songs. But my style is definitely become more mellow as I'm getting older too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is not going to be an album that I play on repeat or like buy on vinyl or anything. Mm-hmm. Like it was fun to dig into it and to kind of like sift through all the references and stuff. But I would say it's really just a few of the songs that I would have any desire to listen to more than once. But I'm very picky in this style of music. Like there's stuff that I really like, but I also get like very over it very quickly. Yeah. And something that was interesting about this one is it was extremely produced. So there are lots of sound effects, lots of auxiliary like backing track type stuff, a lot of things going on, vocal effects, like all the stuff that you can do that's studio magic, which sometimes I feel like enhances a song and sometimes I feel like gets in the way of a song. But it was also really, really heavy on sampling in a lot of like voices and sound effects. And there were times when I could not handle it because it's just like, that doesn't go in a song. Mm-hmm. Like you wouldn't have, if you're playing it live, you just gotta like push a button on a laptop to make that happen. Like what is this doing for the song? Because in my mind, a song is like very much tied to a live experience. Mm-hmm. And so when there are things that I know, like feel like wouldn't translate well to that, I don't care for it as much. So, I would say that a good like handful of songs on this, I thought were really well done and are worth listening to a lot. Mm-hmm. I would say most of it, I probably wouldn't go back to though.
Yeah, I think one of the things I find what I thought was really interesting about the album is a lot of just the titles of songs. So the song that's based on Cabin Fever is called A Rash Decision.
Yes.
It's like, that's brilliant. I like that a lot. But I'm on the same page. Like you could hear songs that are just, every once in a while you hear a song, even if it's like super popular and you're like, man, there's just so much going on. Almost seems like the producer tried to make them part of the band without maybe understanding what was kind of going on. Yeah. Now, like we've had experiences with a producer who knew what we were wanting to do, and I felt like that was like, it was a game changer for our band. Like it was just, it moved us from like, just being garage band to like actually like good, not saying garage bands are
able to book gigs that paid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, just kind of took us up to another level, and it was just all based off that recording and hanging out with him and learning from him and stuff. And our songs were definitely produced, but didn't get crazy. If you have songs that you're producing that you can only reproduce live with, a soundtrack or something, then I'm not the biggest, biggest fan. Like we've talked about that with when we were in a band of like, do we want to have two guitars on this song because we only have one guitar player?
Yeah, like do we want to do backing tracks or something, which for people listening to this, anything that you've been in that's in a venue bigger than a garage, probably you've seen that on more than one occasion, even if you didn't realize it.
Right. And so, as a musician, definitely you start to struggle. There were definitely some that it's just like, I feel like they're trying way too hard on, like, Rainy Day was the example. Yeah. The one that involved Resident Evil. And it was kind of based off the lyrics. I thought the lyrics were intriguing, or they were clever, but just,
that one actually was one of the worst offenders to me from just a pure, like I felt like it was a copy and paste of a Radio Rock template. Yeah. Like there was so much of it that you were hearing that wasn't what they were playing that it kind of got on my nerves. But backing up from that just a little bit, I love the opening. I normally don't like the weird opening track that isn't music, but with this one, it was like they were setting it up just like the text they'd show at the beginning of like a found footage horror movie or something. Yeah. And so I thought it was just like this really well executed nod to like that horror trope, but in bringing that in to an album full of songs inspired by horror movies, I just felt so hyped by the end of it. Like, as soon as that started playing, I was just excited and really happy to see whatever was going to come next.
Yeah, exact same thing. It gave me the exact same feel when, like, say, watching, I don't know, let's just say Devil's Rejects, like the beginning, you know, it's where they're kind of talking about the crimes and stuff that happened. It's like that same kind of feeling that you get when you're starting to watch a horror film, the excitement, you know, they capture that with that opening track. And I was almost a little stunned, you know, I was like, I can't believe they did that. The thing I wish they did throughout was like pull more of the narrator through it. Like have a narrator through it, but that's
like it'd be more consistent going through.
Yeah. I just think that would have been interesting. It's not a knock. It's just like, that would have been cool to have more of that because I enjoyed it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that it was interesting to see the way they adapted these movies or the way that they drew on the movies for influence. Because I feel like it varied a ton. Like in the song A Rash Decision, it was basically just the lyrical content was very inspired by Cabin Fever. And I thought that it had pretty good vocal hooks and energy and very distinct parts. And it didn't, they could have put that on any other album. And then after reading the lyrics, you'd be like, oh, that sounds like Cabin Fever. And then like you'd look it up and be like, oh yeah, they were totally inspired by that. Like it wasn't so in your face that that's what they were doing. And I really liked that one. And then like with the shower scene, I thought that, you know, they played some stuff at the end that kind of like fit into like Psycho, you know, in the idea of like the Traveler and all that. Like that was cool. And then with Funeral Derangements, that song was heavy AF. And the way that they worked in that line, sometimes dead is better, in a way that was like a catchy, like important moments in the song was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What I didn't like so much was on the songs like Assault and Batteries, where they're playing all these sound effects and like jokey voices.
Yeah.
And it just really felt repetitive and over the top. And I feel like someone should have just said no a number of times in the creation of that song. And then like with Ex Mortis, I could not finish that song. Like it sounded like it was going for like a pirate drinking song or something, but just over and over and over, and was not my jam. Yeah. It's funny because I'm basically on the same page as you are with favorites. I would also throw in another one that I enjoyed was the Hip to Be Square, or To Be Scared. Yeah.
The reason why I like that, because in American Psycho, that's, you know, Huey Lewis in the News is part of it. And Huey Lewis is actual writer on that because they used part of like the song.
Yeah, they sampled it.
Yeah, and I was like, that's what we need. Like a lot of these are just off of lyrics and things that were said in the movie that they put in their lyrics and stuff. And that's clever. That's awesome. But this was like acknowledging how big of a part Huey Lewis in the News was in American Psycho. It is like, good on you guys. And
I had mixed feelings about it, but I like applaud the creativity of when they had kind of that talking breakdown where they were like describing the band as Christian Bale's character, whose name I'm totally blanking on from American Psycho.
Yeah.
Like if he were talking about them, is Patrick? Is it Bateman?
Yep.
Hell yeah, I got there.
You did.
But the way that he's talking, like in character, like the way that guy would be talking about the band. And so just from the creativity perspective or, you know, staying true to the spirit of the movie, having an original idea for how to approach that, they get points. I thought it was kind of dumb and self-indulgent too, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. I think if they just did the breakdown, then I would have been like the breakdown with, the Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah.
I would have been, it would have been even better, you know?
Yeah.
But the shower scene was definitely my favorite.
Those
two were probably my most favorite on the album.
I also liked The Box. I thought that was just a good song.
And
then Fly was the one that was featuring Buddy Nielsen from Census Fail. And I think they've been in my top 3 on the end of year list on Spotify for like the last 3 years. And I never listened to them at all when we were younger.
Right.
When they were more like at the height of their popularity. So I don't really have any baggage or background. But over the last several years, I've really gotten into their stuff. And I feel like something that makes them unique is they've always had like really good pop sensibilities along with the heavier stuff. And Buddy Nielsen's vocal delivery and vocal hooks are a big part of that. And so that bridge that starts at like 2 minutes and 5 seconds in on Fly, I thought was just like such a prime example of like everything I would want out of a collaboration that this band would do with him.
Yeah.
So that for me was definitely a highlight of the album, even if it wasn't, you know, super, because of its affiliation with the movie.
Yeah. It's funny because I think you got into Senses Felt Like once you moved to Texas. Because I remember,
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember when we toured, like we talked about them. It's like, yeah, we try, but we just struck. You know, at the time we were just into different genres. I feel like, and then once we got a little bit older, we were able to recognize it.
Moving along though,
yeah,
something I'm super excited to talk about with you is the music videos for songs from this album.
Yeah,
as we mentioned before, this was a sounds like a very, very high budget album. And the videos, I could tell some of them were definitely had a little more resources thrown their way than others, but they all were definitely horror inspired, clearly made by people who are huge fans of horror music. And for me, they also made some of that background stuff in the songs make a lot more sense. So like the talking in Assault and Batteries made way more sense in the context of the video than it did of just hearing the song.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where here's where being a horror band, a band that produces music about horror movies can flourish is the videos, because some of our favorite horror videos out there are like low, produced, low quality. Think of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for example.
Absolutely.
And like, like Evil Dead or something. Like you can get away with, just a couple buds going out and making music videos. And so they were kind of lucky. The problem that I think comes when you start to get when you start to try to overproduce, or I don't want to say produce, but I'm going to say it because I don't know a better word, but when you kind of overproduce a music video and it looks too good when you're trying to make it look like a underproduced film.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It just throws you off a little bit because like you don't know the faces of the actors, and so it doesn't have much meaning to you. And it also probably hurt for me because I didn't know really who. When you watch music videos, it's interesting to see the people in the bands acting, for me at least.
Yeah.
And like I didn't know who was in the band, so I literally looked up an image of them. But it was just like, oh, you guys, so lucky. Like this was such a good call. Like I would have put out music videos for every single song on there, like different versions, everything you can think of, because that's what this is about,
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the song Rainy Day before, and neither of us, really much cared for the music on it. I liked the video way better than the song by itself.
Literally in my notes, exact same thing.
Nice. Yeah. But it was definitely kind of more traditional than some of the others in the band was like, the scenes when it would cut back to them, it's just like they're playing on a stage with some cool lighting. And then there's like the other sort of story with the woman and the zombies and, the Resident Evil, influence there. And that was cool and all, but it definitely, when there was stuff to watch and stuff that was like kind of coordinated with the song and all that made it a much more enjoyable experience than just that song on its own. So I was glad that I gave that one a chance and watched the video because it hit a lot better. I did not like Assault and Batteries anymore after seeing the video though. Like it's still, there were a lot of things about like lyrically I didn't care for, and all of the like random sound effects and kid voices and things definitely made more sense in that context and didn't seem nearly as out of place, but I still just didn't care for the song.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way. I mean, I definitely also like the Welcome to Horrorwood video that they put out. It was just interesting, I thought.
I don't guess I saw that one. What was it?
It was just basically kind of like the intro. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
You guys can look at it. Basically, it's like red and white video kind of starting off. It's like the background of their, of the video or of their artwork. Mm-hmm. but it's just the music tied to it. It just kind of was creepy feeling, I guess, almost like a graphic novel. I kind of felt like, so I just enjoyed that. There's not much actual video content of it. It's just a still image for the most part that they put effects on. But I just also like Welcome to Horrorwood, the song, so it just kind of worked out.
Nice. What do you think of the Hip to Be Scared song?
I actually didn't see that one.
Oh, okay. Well, go check it out. I thought I liked that one. I thought that it was well done, and I thought that they kind of kept that almost like cheesy 90s.
Oh, I'm stupid. Yeah, I see.
Don't talk about my friend that way.
I know. I'm sorry. I saw it. I watched it. I'm just a dumb it. Yeah, definitely liked it. It works out with the actual film itself.
Yes,
like
I thought it was very well coordinated with the movie.
Yeah, it's like, that's the, purpose of it. And it also made me like, I think watching this was like, yeah, we should totally do American Psycho. Like, as long as we're not reviewing the book.
Yeah, no joke on that
we
one.
could definitely do the movie for sure, but it was just like, they grasped the concept of what American Psycho was about, I felt like.
Yeah, and they could they included a lot of kind of visual nods to things in the movie that they didn't necessarily go like over the top on trying to pack into the lyrics. And so I thought that the video piece was a really welcome addition to the reference on that front.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. And then saving the best for last, the funeral derangements video, I was blown away by.
Yeah.
Like, they really leaned into that modern Pet Sematary, like, remake visuals. And, like, the kids and the creepy animal masks. And I thought that the song matched up with it really well. They, like, kind of kept the song lyrics corresponding to, like, the unfolding of the events in the movie. So the video kind of, like, follows along with that and, like, makes sense as a narrative. And I thought it was so elaborate and so over the top and so well done that I was just fascinated. I had to watch it more than once. Yeah.
And it also used like widescreen. Like, I felt like this was the one, this must have been like their main, one that they put out, their main video they put out, because it was just like so produced, it was produced so well. Like, it was just really good.
The cinematography was great. Like, everything about it was like a big step up from all the other videos.
For sure. And it's just basically a remake of the movie in a way. Which is, not gonna lie, a shortened version of that movie is I'm not complaining.
Not the worst thing.
Not complaining too much about it.
For sure. Yeah. And then the little bit with the detectives at the end was kind of funny. Like, I don't really think it needed to be there, but it was definitely showing that they appreciated some of the tropes of horror movies and all that. So it was,
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it was incredibly smart what they did with this. I mean, being that, hopefully our listeners are more familiar with them, maybe send us like an email about like, some of their history with it. Cause I only listened to the Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood, and only paid attention to that. But, I'd definitely be interested in trying to figure out, like, is this the norm for them? I assume it is in a way, but, it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to bring it all home, I thought the videos were extremely well done. The visual effects and the editing were great. And there was an amazing amount of coordination between the action on the screen and like the dynamics of the music. And so just the way that they would fit in, like anytime the music had a stop or the breakdown would drop or the chorus kicks in or whatever, something was happening visually that was compelling that like complemented that. And so just this idea of like this fusion of the audio and video components combined with all of like the horror influence and stuff that we love to watch in movies was a really, really creative and I think amazing creative work all around. Like, just could not be more impressed with this, even though, like we said, we didn't necessarily love all the songs on it.
Yeah, I also, just to add into that, I also feel like it's ballsy what they did.
Yeah, 1,000%. And to do it with that much money behind it. Like, the fact that they sold, they were able to get, like, all the funding and buy-in and everything to do something this creative and this out there is really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super. It takes some grit to do that, and that's awesome. Like, I'll give them all the credit in the world.
And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.